myself and Michelle Maxwell, our District 4 school board member. And from District 5, we have Jonathan Lyle from the Board of Supervisors. Afterward, please feel free to ask questions. I don't think we're going to stay around much after 7, but we are always available. Email us, call us anytime, and hopefully this is very informative and you get an update on what's going on in the county. I'll call it Mr. Carpenter now, our county administrator.
Thank you, Ms. Waters. Well, good evening, and again, I want to thank everybody for taking your time out tonight for our fall town hall. We were here back in the spring when we were presenting the budget to you. This is the 4th of the town halls that we're doing this year. We started back in October, early October, and then continuing until tonight. Some of you I've seen around, so thank you for coming to more of these because they do tend to change a little bit each time based on what's happened or is going to happen. So we start tonight with me telling you a little bit about what the county's been doing in the last 6-12 months. Schools will do that, and then we'll take some questions, hopefully be able to help you get a better sense for that. And the county, we're here because the county's working for you, and that takes a couple of ways. First starts with our Board of Supervisors and what's important to them. And for the Board of Supervisors, in no particular order, financial excellence, high quality core services, public safety, keeping goods in rural, low taxes, and quality education. Those are things that have been critical to them. And we start, therefore, as a staff by, well, our award-winning staff. We're excellent in so many ways, but two of the things I want to point out to you tonight are economic development staff. You see them there, up there on the left. They won 3 excellent in economic development awards this year from the International Economic Development Council. And then our finance staff won the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for fiscal year 24 from the Government Finance Officers Association. And the county working for you now, we're starting to do things that you'll be seeing and benefiting from for years. Recently, when we went through the Centerville Village study, one of the outcomes for that was that we needed to have a better sense for the impact that growth and development was going to have on this county. So out of that, we started what we call the Southeastern Infrastructure Study. If you've been around, they used to call that SPIDA. But then it's the Southeastern Infrastructure. If you look at the map, that green circle, it's basically the 288 and Patterson Road quadrant. And that's an area that's going to be growing, we know, in the future. There's 1,000+ acres of land that is available to be developed in there. And so what the SIS study is doing is it's giving us a tool that will let us analyze the impacts of growth, the priorities, the impact on roads, on bridges, on schools, on fire and rescue, on law enforcement, on education. So we looked at several things in it. The roads in it, the water and sewer, school and fire and rescue. And we modeled 3 different scenarios. One of those scenarios would be if we just follow the comprehensive plan, what's going to happen, what's it going to look like. Another is what if we go more towards a mixed use future where we have apartments and shopping and commercial mixed in with residential. Or the other is what if we go more of an economic development with light industry and things like that that are appropriate for the area. In addition to that, we've got a lot of major road work going on. Now, one thing about government projects is they take a long time. So all these road projects are years in the process. Some of them we've been working on for years. We're going to start, though, with the one that everybody here is quite interested in, and that's the Ashton Road I-64 interchange. The engineering is underway already. We anticipate that being completed in September of 2031. So that's 7 years. It's a long time. Well, you're talking an interstate, an interchange, so you're doing a major amount of construction work in a fashion that will just be, by its nature, very complex. The kind of interchange it's going to be, it's called a divergent diamond. If you've been to the Zions Crossroad, you have an idea what that looks like, and that's what it's going to be. Addition to that same area, if you drive Ashton Road, the park and ride lot. That's already underway. It's going to be completed in November of 28, and that's relocating the current park and ride to the other side of the interstate. It'll be bigger, it'll be better designed, better lit, in order to support the level of use that it's already getting. Another one of the projects in this area that's also funding, it's also underway with the engineering, is the Hockett Road realignment. So if you take Hockett Road and you're going up to shopping, right now you have to kind of come to Broad Street, you got to take a right, and then if you're going to go to the interstate, you got to take another left. This realignment will allow you to basically get on Hockett Road and go all the way straight through to I-64 without having to make that weird little zigzag. You'll still be able to go to the food line. That light's still going to stay, so you can keep going straight, but there will be a roundabout. If you can see on the map up there, there will be a little roundabout right there where the new intersection is going to be built. One thing that we like in Virginia are roundabouts, as you'll see. So that's a roundabout that's being built. Another one, Oilville and I-64. If you've ever tried to get off at Oilville exit, about any time in the afternoon, it can back up quite a bit. So that has also been we've already started the process of engineering it, and it's going to put a roundabout at the exit. So when you get off on Oilville Road, instead of that mess of there's a stop sign there, there'll be a roundabout that'll move traffic through and around. Another project that's well underway is in the fairgrounds intersection of the courthouse. And as you know, the fairgrounds recently was fixed with a roundabout there. Traffic moves much smoother. The original plan called for that road to continue all the way to Highway 6. Unfortunately, when it was funded, there wasn't enough funding to do it, so that part was cut. Well, we've been able to secure the funding necessary now to extend Fairgrounds Road all the way to Highway 6. So the engineering is underway. It should be completed by February of '28. And that'll make a significant impact in traffic flow through the courthouse. Make it much safer too. If you've driven that intersection, the roundabout helped, but you still end up at a stoplight where it can back up as well. So this will divert a lot of traffic that's going to the western part of the county away from that intersection, that stoplight. And then in that same area, if you've been to the farmer's market, if you've been to the Christmas tree lighting, if you've been to so many things, it can be very dangerous. People on both sides of the road crossing and traffic whipping through. So we've got funded now a crosswalk that's going to connect the lower lot, the parking lot, or what we call Napa Field, the grass lot there, with that fairgrounds on the other side of it, and put a safe crosswalk there. Sounds like a fairly minor thing, but with the number of people and the hills that people, I saw someone going down the hill once, they almost fell and rolled into the road. So this is going to fix things like that as well for us. So other areas that we're working for and helping you along with is in our public safety. And I can tell you that recently we've had some really neat things happen in public safety, emergency services. We recently completed a live burn structure. Now, those of you who are involved in our fire and rescue, I thank you so much for what you do. And many years ago, we had a live fire building that we could do live fire. But as years went on, it deteriorated to the point where it was no longer safe to do live fire training. So we had to go outside our county to do live fire training. Well, the board found the necessary funding, and you see the picture there of now the live burn structure at the Henley Fire Training Center. We had a grand opening back in August for it. Public came to see it. It's available. I'm sure if you ever go out there and drive through, they'd love to show it to you if they're able to. But it now allows us to do that kind of training again in the county at our fire training center. You also see a picture of the tanker we just received for the Haydensville station. That tanker rolled in. We got another one coming very soon. In a couple of weeks, it's due to be delivered as well. Those two pumpers that have come in, and so tanker trucks. And these are much larger than we had in the past. That allow us to carry more water. Plus, they're safer. They replace units that are over 20 years old and had a number of miles and hours on it. So again, we try to replace at least 1 or 2 trucks every year in the county. Another thing that we do for you, of course, is the animal shelter. Hopefully you all have had a chance to get out there. It's one of the neatest animal shelters around. It's a public-private partnership that built it a few years back. And it's one of the best things, neatest things about Coochie County. You see some of our current little residents there, Bark Twain, Lua, and Tagalong. Hopefully you can stop by sometime and look at the dogs and the cats that are there. But people come from miles around to this adoption center because it's so neat. It is a certified no-kill center with a live save rate of over 97%, which is pretty significant when you understand what's involved with dealing with a public shelter and adoption center. They do an amazing job there. Moving on, in other ways working for you, our economic development. Economic development is critical to this county. And whenever I talk, I stress how critical it is. We talk about we want to keep Goochland rural. One of the only ways we're going to be able to keep Goochland rural is making sure that we have good quality economic development to support that. So currently we've got over $81 million invested in the county this year. Under construction right now, over $450 million of new construction, commercial mostly, and then over $3 billion in the pipeline. Now the pipeline doesn't always turn into something, but it's the process we have to go through of working, trying to get new suitable industry to come. And we're added recently 70 acres of new industrial land. Well, that's critical. You've got to have available land. You've got to have available infrastructure for industry, because if you don't, then what ends up happening is the only people paying the bills are the property owners, the homeowners. And people are concerned about the value of their houses going up and their taxes going up. So it's critical that we add additional economic development to offset that, so the pressure doesn't just fall on the shoulders of our homeowners. Recently, the Board of Supervisors approved some additional supplements for economic development that will help them more. Funded some due diligence to increase prime economic development site from Tier 2 to Tier 4, which is the most attractive site you can have. Doing studies on other land to make sure that we can get water or sewer there if we need to, as well as adopting a technology zone to incentivize the technology companies so they encourage you to come to Goochland. So we talked about all those things that are happening right now. What else are we doing? Well, in connecting our community, one of the things that we're really proud about is our support and involvement with the Firefly and the VATI. So VATI was a grant program. The VATI 2024 grant was just approved in July, and that's going to be one that's going to be bringing additional high-speed fiber into some of these areas of the county that were overlooked in the past. So most of this part of the county is covered by commercial providers, but we have some donut holes. So the VATI 2024 grant is going to help us find those donut holes and fix them and fill them. But also, just see on the map, the pink, the yellow, the blue. The blue are areas that already have Firefly. The pink are areas that are in the process of engineering, and the yellows are a little further along. They're in the make-ready work stage. So by the end of the summer 2025, most of these areas you see on that map should be in the position where they can start signing up for high-speed fiber cable internet. Another thing we're doing coming up, tire amnesty and document shredding, Saturday the 16th. A year ago, we had so much interest in this event. So many people came out for this that we ran out of truck space, and we literally had to tell people to stop while we found another truck to come in. So this year we've got multiple trucks going to be there, but also we've added the tire amnesty aspect of an agricultural tire. Those of you who have any kind of an agricultural operation know how hard it is to get rid of the tires from tractors and heavy equipment. So you'll be able to bring those as well this year to the tire amnesty event. It's going to be at the fairgrounds, right by at the old fairgrounds, at the roundabout there in the courthouse area. You just have to show that you're a Goochland citizen. Other things that we're doing coming up, a lot of neat events. Right now in our Parks and Rec program, our youth basketball registration is open now. Also coming up, November 9th, Comic Fest, which is a modern pop culture day of costumes, of comic books, of gaming, things that really attract a neat audience of people who tend to be younger and don't always find an outlet for it in some of the programs here. Then we move to the holiday market, November 23rd, artisan crafts, Santa photos, and of course the tree lighting I mentioned earlier. If you haven't been to the tree lighting, it's December 6th. I really encourage you to come out and see it. If you've ever seen a Hallmark movie in real life, there you go. That's what it is. Just like this past Saturday with the Fall Family Festival, just one of the neatest things you'll see. Santa comes, Miss Santa comes, the tree's lit, kids are there, they're having games. It's just a really special kind of event that we do so well here in Goochland. Other events that we do well in Goochland, we'll have coming up as well, a small town Goochland Christmas, which is hosted by some of our small businesses, River Road Cottage and Market. And also we encourage people, if you look at the bottom, the Explore Goochland. One of the apps that we have, the Explore Goochland, encourages people to come and spend their day in Goochland. Either spend a day, a dog-friendly day, a cozy couple getaway, stay at some of our bed and breakfasts or Airbnbs, find events that are going on in this area, attractions they can go see. It gets a lot of attention. We get a lot of good feedback on that. Another great event that's coming up this coming Saturday, is the celebration of Lafayette's return. 250 years ago, 200 years ago, Lafayette returned back to Goochland on his farewell tour to America. And he stopped in Goochland itself on that November 2nd. So we're going to be having a celebration starting at Tuckahoe Plantation at 10 a.m. It's a ticketed event, but we encourage the public to come. And then at 1 o'clock in the courthouse, there's going to be a marker unveiled. This is part of the America's Revolution 250th that our Board of Supervisors have appointed a commission to, for the next 8 years, make sure that we celebrate appropriately the American Revolution. That's one of the things that the people want to see our kids have a better understanding of what made America the great country that it is. So this commission is going to be doing things for the next 8 years to try to bring attention to the revolution, but also to Goochland and the role that we played and the people that were part of that. So that's what we're doing. That's what's going on. Well, where are we going? Well, any organization, where you go is based in part on your budget, how you spend your money. And that always tells where your priorities are. You can say that this is important to you, But if you don't put any money towards it, then is it really important to you? So we start the process already in October. We've already started as a county looking at the departments, going through what they need, listening to our supervisors, listening to citizens. We then start building the budget internally through January. I'll be presenting it to the Board of Supervisors in February. Then we'll be having town halls just like this starting in March. Then there'll be a public hearing in April, and the budget would be adopted at some point after that. Part of that budget, of course, is going to be capital improvement priorities. Again, those are things you see, you touch, your hard brick and mortar things or the kind of assets that help us. Most recently, of course, the new elementary school is an example of our CIP in action. Our sheriff, every year we get new vehicles for them. There's nothing worse you can do for public safety than not give them good equipment. Same thing with our fire and rescue. We always try to have at least one fire truck, one ambulance every year. And then facilities itself, you see the courthouse. We started the process now of designing the new courthouse. Back in 2021, the citizens of this county, 85% voted to build a new courthouse. So we've started the process. It takes about 4 years to build a courthouse because there's so much involved in planning and designing. It's a building unlike any other. There are no other counterparts to a courthouse because of the level of security you have to have, because of the various constituencies you have to move through it, because of the judges, the various courts, public safety, the citizens. So it takes a long time to do it. That's probably why we only build them every 200 years here. Another thing I'm pleased to tell you about is we continue to expand our services. The board did approve us beginning construction of the Sandy Hook Station 8. That's on the corner of Whitehall Road and 522 Sandy Hook Road. And we started the design process for that. If you've been down that road, you've seen the sign. We'll be putting a new sign up in the next few weeks that'll indicate that coming soon will be that station. We also continue to look for the best location for Station 7 in West Creek. So that is still on the burner. The board has made clear that we're still going to build that station also, but we've started the process to build Station 8. Now, when I talked about people coming and spending time in Gooch, and some of the things that we try to get them to do is visit us. And the state of Virginia tells us that our visitors to this county had an impact of $89 million last year. That's buying gas, that's staying in Airbnbs, that's staying in the hotel, that's buying food and meals, paying for tickets to events. Over 600 jobs supported. That could be food trucks like you see there. That could be hotels, restaurants, things like that. And again, our local taxes benefited by almost $3 million from sales tax collections that we received from them. Now, when we talk about shopping, one of the things that we've really started focusing on is trying to encourage people to support local. So a couple ways I'm going to tell you how we're doing that. One is you see over there to the left as you shop local, there's an app that we encourage everyone to download. And what it is, it's a guide to everything, again, food, beverage, and fun in this county. So you can go straight to those that are participating in the program in Gooch County. But then once you go there, if you shop there, if your application, if you got it and you get a copy of your receipt, then our EDA will reimburse you 5% of that cost that you can then spend on other local restaurants or shops in this county. So the more that you actually shop local, the more it helps our local businesses because that money comes back. And it has a pretty significant impact on them, as we've been told, well over $100,000 of benefit to them as money goes rolling back through it. So you see the open rewards, earn cash back at your favorite businesses. Another way, and this is a critical way, is buy your gas local. A few years back, the state of Virginia created the Central Virginia Transportation Authority, the CVTA, and they put an additional tax on gas in the Central Virginia region. When you buy your gas in Goochland, we get 50% of that money. So already today, $9.2 million of additional revenue has been received by Goochland County and been spent in here on projects. So some of these projects that I've shown you would not have been happening, would not have been possible if we hadn't have had the gas money from the gas taxes. So when you buy your gas, don't buy it in Hanover, or Henrico, or Chesterfield if you can help it. Please buy it at a local gas station in Goochland, and that's what's going to start helping us fix our roads, because our roads, as we know, certainly could use some help, and this is where the money can come from. So the final thing is, how do we keep you involved? The fact that you're here is one of the great ways, and this is such a very involved community. Of course, we're going to start with the election vote. I certainly would hope and expect everybody in this room has, if you're able to, already voted. November 2nd will be the last day of early voting, and again, November 5th is Election Day. I do want to draw your attention to one of the changes that affects you all the most is in June, the board created a new voting precinct, Precinct 403. It's located out at Avery Point, and it serves that area that's around the Avery Point. It's an apartment complex. 2 apartment complexes in Avery Point are who's covered by it. It helps you because all those people will no longer be going to the precincts that you've been using. So it's going to take a lot of the traffic out of the existing precincts and let them vote there, which then will help people vote smoother, easier, and quicker at the precincts that you're used to voting at. Other ways you can participate, again, participate in things like this, town halls. You can volunteer, get involved, run for public office. Always encourage people to do that. Try to get on a board or commission. We always have vacancies out there. We encourage people to reach out to their supervisors if they're interested in doing so. I strongly encourage you to have the Sheriff's app on your phone if you don't already. The Sheriff's app is your connection to the Sheriff's office and what they're sharing with the community. One of the best, most useful tools that they have in there, of course, is roads opening or road closings. If you've ever gotten on I-64 and seen a dead stop and wish you'd known that before you got on it, this app would have told you that. And they'll send you announcements and let you know that roads are shut down and when they're reopened. So during bad weather especially, that's helpful. During events like, again, a wreck on the interstate, it lets you know to take a different way around. So I encourage you to have that one. Also, our public safety, fire and rescue, our code red. Now this is for emergencies, significant emergencies only, but if you have that downloaded, then we'll be able to reach out to you if something is happening that affects you. So that could be an emergency, that could be a hurricane, a tornado warning, it could be a silver alert or an amber alert. It could be, unfortunately, some months back we had a water main that burst. And we had to let people know that the water was not working. They had to boil the water for 24 hours. So I encourage you to have this so that you can keep involved and aware that way also. And then, of course, the county's got an app. We all have apps these days. So the county's own app is something I'd encourage you. And one of the things that you can do with that app is you can sign up for alerts and notifications. And that's a real important feature because you can customize what's interesting to you. So if you want to know what Parks and Rec are doing, you can customize it and it'll alert you what they're doing. If you want to know what's going on in planning and zoning, it'll alert you and let you know what's happening in planning and zoning. So you select what you're notified, but strongly encourage you to participate in that. Also, you can get emails, a weekly email we send out, Goochland at a Glance. It just tells you, again, a summary of everything that's happened in this past week in Goochland County. And just get involved as well. Come to our meetings the first Tuesday of every month, except November, because Election Day is the first Tuesday, so we'll be meeting Wednesday this month of November. But every other month is going to be the first Tuesday of the month. We're on social media, all the major social media players. Encourage you, except for TikTok, we don't do that, but encourage you to be part of and seeing and following us on there. And so with that, that's kind of what we're doing in a summary, nutshell, and I'm going to turn it over now to our superintendent.
Ordinance for a temporary wardrobe change.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. My name is Michael Cromartie, and my passion is our public schools. Your District 4 school board representative, Ms. Maxwell, wanted me to convey that she's got business cards here for anybody who needs them after, so that if you have questions that you think about once you get home and want to reach out, you can certainly do that. I walked in this evening, or briefly spoke to Chief Ferguson in the parking lot, and it reminded me to do something that I don't typically do, but should. And that's to celebrate partnerships that we have with local government agencies like fire and rescue, emergency management, and the sheriff's office. Many of you may not know that recently we engaged in a series of roundtable discussions and a reunification simulation that involved not only fire and rescue, but our sheriff's office. And while I pray every single day that we don't have an event that calls us to utilize those things and habits, it's certainly good to know that should we have to do those things, we're prepared. I also want to thank the Sheriff's Office because they provide a school resource officer to each of our 5 campuses. And that's not someone who floats through a couple times a day. It's actually someone who's assigned to that school and who is a part of that school community, giving our kids wonderful opportunities to interact positively with law enforcement. So tonight in my time, I'm going to give you the state of the schools. And I'm very proud to stand here and tell you that the state of our public schools is strong. What you see on the screen behind me is a photograph from our elementary school students from the Goochland County Public Schools Reading Olympics last April. We had teams of about 75 students per school to come and compete in different reading challenges. And I'm really proud to share that this year's winner was from Byrd Elementary School. While I'm bragging on Byrd, Byrd also won first place in Lego robotics and donated over 1,500 pounds of goods to Goochland Cares. Goochland Elementary School, and if you haven't noticed, I'm going to brag on all of our schools individually tonight, bear with me. Goochland Elementary School had 24 girls participating in its Girls on the Run program. This is a wonderful opportunity for our young ladies to develop self-advocacy and learn to be a part of a team. And our Flying Squirrels night, reading night last spring was very, very popular at the baseball park over in Richmond. When I brag about Randolph Elementary School, I can't do that absent of talking about their house concept. It's really the only one of its kind, at least that I'm familiar with, at the elementary school level, where they take kids from preschool and affiliate them with a house. So it's preschool on through 5th grade. They're part of a team, part of a culture, and part of a family. And there's a good dosage of healthy competition that goes in there. I'm an honorary trail runner, and they remind me of that every time I'm at the school, much to the chagrin of the other teams. But I'm proud of that. They even got me a t-shirt. It's pretty cool. There's an outdoor learning pavilion back about 500 yards, I'll say, in the woods behind Randolph Elementary School. This was developed in partnership with the Goochland Education Foundation to provide our students learning experiences outside of the traditional classroom. And I can't brag enough on our schools without talking about the tremendous, tremendous progress of Goochland Middle School. Last year when I took this job, Goochland Middle School was designated a level, well, they were red for English. And as a former English teacher, I thought that just cannot be here. And I'm very, very proud to say, typically schools, when they're progressing, they'll go from a red distinction, which is a level 3 distinction, to a yellow, which is a level 2, and then a green, which is level 1. We didn't have time for that at Goochland Middle. We jumped directly from level 3 red to level 1 green in 1 year's time. I'm really proud of that. And our high school students participated in our first of what's going to now be annual Energize and Engage Day. This was an event that allowed our kids an opportunity to collaborate with teachers and their peers in ways that built teams and fun spirits at the high school. We've received a heavy donation equipment from our business partners at Sargent. This piece of equipment, valued at over $80,000, allowed us to retire our previous piece of equipment. Actually, we didn't retire it, we sold it, but this gives our students an opportunity to practice on more modernized heavy equipment. And I encourage you, if you've never done it before, to join us for our mock interviews at the high school this spring. This is where business and community leaders come in and actually interview our students. They typically get dressed up and they prepare, and you all simulate what a real-life job interview might look like. We made our business roundtable more robust last March. We moved it to this area of the county and attracted almost 50 business partners to come and share with us the types of skills that they want prospective employees to have. And in kind, through our programs, we work to build those skills to make a more employable public. And in doing so, last June, just before graduation, we had our Career and Technical Education Signing Day. Here in this photograph are 28 students. These 28 kids graduated high school on June the 8th, Saturday night, and went to work on Monday morning, June the 10th, earning very competitive wages at employees from Dominion to Sargent and everywhere in between. And while I'm talking about our graduation, let me share a few details of our graduating class. We graduated 218 students. Of those, nearly 3 out of every 4 earned a Virginia Advanced Studies diploma. That is otherworldly, folks. That is remarkable levels of achievement. Of those 218 students, 60 earned their associate's degree from J. Sargent Reynolds Community College prior to graduation. Now think about how amazing that is. J. Sargent holds its graduation before we hold ours. So 60 students actually earned a college degree before they earned their high school diploma. That is amazing. I'm very proud to say that our graduation rate at the high school sits at 98%, well above the state average. matching our all-time high also of 98% in 2020. We have a 0.9, less than 1% deemable dropout rate. Now, for those of you who are checking my math, you're saying, well, what happens to the other 1%, or 1.1% in this case? These are kids who return to us either at the summer or are still with us working to finish their high school credential. And I'm proud to stand here today to say that all 5 of our schools are fully accredited as determined by the Virginia Department of Education. And not only are we fully accredited, we've made great strides. We're up in reading and mathematics in the past school year. In reading, we ranked first in the region out of 10 school divisions and 14th in the state out of 131 school divisions. That is the highest single year ranking we've ever had for English in our school division. Mathematics, we're second, and looking at Hanover to be first out of 10 school divisions in the region and 8th in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We recognize the challenges that all school divisions face with science and history in the face of changing standards and assessments, but we're competitive there too, ranking 5th in the region and 35th in the state in science, 4th in the region and 13th in the state in history. And for those of you who follow Niche has rated Goochland County Public Schools the best school division in the Metro Richmond area for the 7th consecutive year. We are forever proud of that. And our enrollment is up. In our schools, we have 2,642 students, up by 71 students over the previous year. You may be wondering, to what can that growth be attributed? I want to take you back roughly 5 years, when we were all shut in and a little bit idle with COVID, and people found interesting ways to pass that time. 5 years later, we've got booming kindergarten enrollment in our schools. That's the way that math works. We have 473 employees on our roll. We hired 41 new staff members this school year, to include 10 teachers across our 3 elementary schools, 9 high school teachers, 13 middle school teachers, 8 special education teachers, and 1 school counselor. The table that you see on the screen behind me represents where our teachers land in terms of years of experience. Of all of our teachers, the lion's share of them have 0 to 5 years experience. That means that we're doing a remarkable job at recruiting talented teacher staff. But as we go along the continuum, those folks who have the most experience, 26 to 29 years and 30 years, we only have 26 staff members that fill those buckets. And I think it's pretty neat that we have 12 new course offerings at our high school for our students. Goochland County Public Schools punch up. We do. And I never want it to be the reality for any of our students for them to miss that last admission spot at a university of their choice because this kid had the opportunity to take a course at their school division that we don't offer in ours. I'm very proud of our robust and ever-growing course catalog. We have won awards for artificial intelligence and technology grants. And Goochland County Public Schools is an Apple Distinguished District. Now, there are not very many of those across the country, I shared when I was here last March. And someone reached out, I don't know if it was from District 4 or a district somewhere else in the county, and said, well, does that just mean that you spend a lot of money on Apple products? No. Although we do spend money on Apple products, that is our preferred technology brand. But this is an award that's a celebration for Goochland County Public Schools as a leader in innovation and technology. You don't get the award with just the technology, and you don't get the award with just innovation. You have to be technologically innovative, and we are in preparing lessons daily and experiences for our students. Like the county, we've also received the GFOA Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for many, many years running. And all 5 of our bookkeepers at our schools received perfect audits this past fiscal year. And all the talk, Goochland Elementary School. We opened a brand new state-of-the-art learning facility in the central part of the county that encompasses 105,000 square feet of space, colorful and vibrant, and to go there during a lunch period will just make your entire week. I welcome you to join us sometime and see that. This school gave us growth capacity throughout the county, and I'll explain. You may say, well, it's in the central part of the county. How does that impact the ability to absorb growth at Randolph in our district, or Byrd in the northwest end of the county? And this is how. When we planned to open the school, we also took on a redistricting program. We hired a firm to handle our redistricting, and as a result of that redistricting, about 90 students from the Randolph area, this end of the county, were automatically rezoned to attend the new Goochland Elementary School. The same thing happened in the northwest part of the county, where about 40 students who had previously gone to Byrd were now rezoned to go to Goochland Elementary School. The new GES houses a maximum of about 675 to 700 students comfortably, and right now today has over 500 students at that school. Conversely, because we've taken students from Randolph sitting at about 340 students, and Byrd sitting at about 260 students, each of those buildings with the capacity for growth equaling the number of students that we took out, and quite possibly more, because we allowed our current fifth graders to remain at their schools. We didn't want to traumatize anyone with the possibility of having to do pre-K through 4 at one school and fifth grade at a separate. So because we did that, we also honored a sibling. If they have a younger sibling, that younger sibling could remain for 1 year only. So we may see more students at GES in the upcoming school year. When I was here in March, I was hat in hand talking about the power of a market adjustment for our division's 240 school teachers. Only the school teachers. Michael Cromartie saw not 1 cent in market adjustment, nor did our principals, school counselors, food service workers, custodians, bus drivers, you name it. But I want to share with you the power of that initiative and what that meant for compensation of school teachers in Goochland. On the screen, the column that's on your right, my left, indicates where we would have been had we just done the 5% cost of living adjustment, which many locales around us did just the 5%, 3 to 5%. At year 0, we would have ranked 3rd of 7 school divisions in our study. And that's a good thing because we need to be competitive on the front end to recruit that talent. Keep in mind that the majority of our teachers have years 0 to 5 of experience. We were right at the middle in bands, including years 5 to 10, and near the bottom for our longest serving, longest tenured teachers, years 15 to 25. Now pivot your attention to the column that's on your left, my right. It's all green. We still rank 3rd for starting salary because that number was not impacted by the market adjustment. But we're 2nd in the region in bands 5 through 15. Our teachers with years 5 through 15 years of experience are compensated at the 2nd highest level in the region. And our teachers with 20 to 25 years are compensated 3rd in the region. That's the power of that initiative. We rank in the top 3 school divisions in the Metro Richmond area for teacher salaries. And when surveyed since they returned to school this year, nearly 60% of our teachers indicated that that market adjustment was an influential factor in their decision to continue with Goochland County Public Schools. That concludes the state of our public schools. And am I turning it over to you, or am I opening the floor for questions?
We're going to open the floor for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and Mr. Drumwright will come to you with a microphone so we can hear, the people at home can hear you as well.
Thank you.
All for me. Go too far.
Yeah, don't go too far.
I'm not going too far.
My question is for Dr. Kamadi. I do understand that capacity is part of the formula for deciding a school. But here in District 4 and District 5, we are in a designated growth area. Our little children are on the bus an hour each way to get to Randolph Elementary School. It's heartbreaking for me, who has lived here for 45 years now. We were promised that we would have our own school in District 4 and 5. We understand that there's, gaps in it, but our kids are on the bus all this time. We've got to, finding out at the last one that it was going to be 15 years before we could possibly get a new elementary school is heartbreaking. And, we are paying our fair share of property taxes over here. And I just need to understand if my grandchildren are ever going to be able to have a neighborhood school to go to, like I did when I was a child. I went to school in my neighborhood. I didn't have to track 20 miles to go to school each day. And it's even further for the middle school and high school.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry to say, but, we feel, I'm gonna say I feel that we need to have what we were promised 45 years ago, and that was going to be an elementary school. Randolph Elementary School is what, how many years old?
Nearly 70.
Nearly 70 years old, okay? Most buildings at 70 years old have got major conditions, so please, I'm sorry, but you knew it was coming.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's all right. And I'll speak to that, and then I'll turn it over to have maybe Mr. Carpenter talk about it from a capital outlay perspective. Both Randolph and Byrd Elementary Schools are near 70 years old. But if you've been to those schools, you'll notice that for them to be 70-year-old facilities, particularly in the inside, they've been well maintained. And I understand that that's not your concern, but it is my role to say that. With regard to the geography, and you're having attended a neighborhood school, Goochland's not a neighborhood school community. Goochland's a county which desires to remain rural in nature. So when you have 2,700 students from a county that's as vast as this, naturally, folks are going to have to converge for the secondary schools in particular from either end to the center. Now, what the rezoning did for Randolph is it's very, very close geographically where Randolph sits. It's very, very close to the Goochland Elementary School line. And if we ever have to do any redistricting, it's going to be difficult to redistrict back this way because it could quite possibly have Randolph Elementary School sitting inside of another school zone. That doesn't take into account the remainder of the county heading toward Henrico that sits out there. And that's what you're talking about that lends to the long bus rides for students. There are a couple things that contribute to that. Some are reasonably controlled. Some are just circumstantial and cannot be repaired due to a lack of human capital. If we had more buses on the road, we could probably better accommodate more terrain quicker. But the reality is we struggle to fill our bus driver vacancies that we currently have under our current setup. If we had kids ride the buses together, kindergarten through 12th grade, that might mitigate some of those things. But I'd venture to guess that nobody in this room wants their first grade student on the bus with a 10th grader. And if you think you do, superintendent's here to tell you that you do not. You can trust me on that if nothing else. So there are a couple things that really lend to our specific challenges. But you'd be enlightened to know, as you've mentioned, that there are plans in the current capital improvement, and those plans go out for the schools 28 years. And I'm not saying that it's going to be that before a school is built here. That includes a renewal of both Randolph and Byrd Elementary Schools.
But no new school.
It includes construction of Byrd and Randolph Elementary Schools.
Construction of a new school, but no new school.
Not new in terms of addition.
What I'm trying to say is we are in a designated growth area. We keep on being reminded every time we pay our taxes that we are, in the highest density for the whole county, okay? But yeah, we here struggle for all, like I said, I've lived in this area for 45 years now. And we have watched the promises that were made.
Yeah.
You know, and we did that capital improvement impact analysis in 2018. And we had real hope that in 2018, that in 5 years, we would see some form of facility here.
By show of hands, how many of you have children or grandchildren in our public schools? Okay, that's less than a quarter of the people who are here.
Well, that's
It's true.
that are here.
It's true that we are experiencing great growth in this end of the county, but does that growth transition to increased enrollment in our public schools? Slow growth, not as rapid as the population increase in this portion of the county, or the center portion of the county for that matter. Slow growth. People are moving here, but whether or not they have children who are enrolled in our schools, that's really the crapshoot.
Well, we'll be glad to keep talking to you afterwards, but we can take some more questions.
Just a quick question. When you say that Randolph could be a new school developed called Randolph, are you saying that there is a chance that Randolph school would be moved more central into the school district versus its current location?
Okay, let me be clear on this. I cannot imagine a scenario where an additional school will be opened. If a new school opens when a new school opens in this area of the county, we will consolidate or collapse, not physically, but close the existing Randolph. Regarding what it will be called, I would imagine it will be called Randolph Elementary School, but I do not know that for certain. That will rest on the hands of the school board at the time.
It could be at the current location, or that it would be relocated more central into this school district?
I think that Vic and I have had conversations about ideal places, but it's got to exist either on county or school board owned property. It can't go on private property unless the private owner of that property is willing to sell to either the county or the school board.
We own on Hockett Road.
And the county does own 80 acres on Hockett Road that is not, it is certainly going to be one of the first things we would look at for school location because it's already owned and it's enough size. Whether it would be adequate for a school, those studies haven't been done, but we do have the property. I think to build a structure like a school, and obviously this is not my bailiwick, but there will be a lot of study that goes into that we have not yet done and not started, because right now in the capital improvement plan, that school is about 15 years out. And the capital improvement plan is a 25, 28-year plan that we've got to anticipate where the money's going to come from, first of all. So it's fine to put down all the things that we want if there's no way to pay for it. So we've always been very focused to make sure that our reach does not exceed our grasp. So putting a project like a new school on here, by the time it comes around, it's probably going to be every bit of $80 to $100 million to build that school because of what this school does cost us to build as well. So we've got to make sure we can afford to pay for it. So we're not going to enter into anything lightly, but it is on our plan, which means that we do anticipate that the revenues that we currently anticipate in 15 years is hard to anticipate, but as we currently anticipate, we would have the money available at that point to do it without major tax increases to our citizens to pay for it like other counties do. So.
What do other county
Yes.
I wanted to second what she's saying, because that was really my main thing that I wanted to say when I came here tonight. But my focus was a little bit more on the bus routes. I know how challenging it is to get bus drivers. I mean, that's not a job that I would want to do in a million years, but we've got to do something. We do have a spread out community. So I would just hope that there is a focus on that. I mean, I don't know what the solution is, but my son he's a middle schooler and he's on the bus for 2 hours every day, every day. But then I started to look at all the other routes to see, well, maybe there's another route where I could pick him up because I have a little bit of flexibility. And they were so much worse.
Yeah.
Like they're so much worse than his. I know a fourth grader who's on the bus, he gets on the bus before my alarm goes off in the morning. He's on the bus at 6:30, and he's in the 4th grade. He has ADHD. This is not a good way for him to start his day. So that's important to me. Also, I want to say thank you for providing nurses at all of the schools. That is huge. We are a family allergy. We have food allergies, we have other issues, and they're minor compared to what some of the other kids are dealing with these days. So having a school nurse, and they are wonderful, by the way.
They are.
At every school is extremely important to me, so I appreciate that. One more thing and then I'm done. In middle school, they don't have enough time to get to no kids use their lockers in middle school. There's I understand we need to minimize the time between classes because of all kinds of reasons, but my son is carrying his lunchbox, his trumpet, and his whole backpack with his entire day at schools, and he's Sherping it around from class to class. So lockers aren't.
Well, so every kid who requests a locker can be assigned a locker. 95% of the lockers are vacant, and we use them to store textbooks and things of that nature because kids just have shown a disinterest in having a traditional locker based primarily on some of the things that you've mentioned. It's not located where their classes are. They'd have to go out of their way to go to it. I want to talk a little bit about, if I can, 30 seconds or less, about the bus rides from here for middle school students. If we all got in a car and drove straight from here to the middle school, we'd be talking about 20 minutes max. But when you throw in several bus stops along the way and several veerings off to go down certain roads to pick up students who are geographically close, but out of the way in terms of a main throughway, that adds time. And you're correct. We do have kids that are on the bus 45 minutes to an hour one way. We do have students who are getting on school buses at 6:30. And when it's this time of year, getting into the time changing, still very much dark outside at that hour. But we try to route our buses as efficiently and effectively as we can. That's not to say that it's perfect, but if I had 15 additional drivers and 12 additional buses, it'd be more perfect. And I'm not lobbying for those things. I'm not. I'm offering a rationale for why our transportation setup is the way that it is in a county that's as long northwest to southeast as our county is, with the middle and high school in the center portion of the county.
But if there was a school in our
Mrs.
district,
Moore,
we wouldn't have that
Can we get some
problem.
other questions?
I agree with that, but there isn't.
Okay, this is gonna be weird. I'm kid allergic, so I don't have any and don't have anything with the schools, but I have a question. I have followed a lot of school buses when I did home health stuff, and the bus will stop here, and then 10 feet, it'll stop here. Why don't y'all, when I grew up, you consolidated.
Yeah.
Neighbors came to our driveway, the neighbors this way came to our driveway. Why don't they do that now?
So they do. Usually for your larger subdivisions, there's a singular stop or two, depending on the size of the subdivision for the subdivision. But let's just say that you're talking about homes that are on Fairground Road, where there's no shoulder and no sidewalk. If you ever get behind a school bus on Fairground Road, I hope that you're not under any kind of duress, because that is going to be an experience. You are going to stop in that bus, and it's just like the mail truck. If you get behind that on Fairground Road, you're going to stop, you're going to go 10 feet. What you're describing is true, but that's not the norm. It is the norm on our most rural throughways that don't have sidewalks, where kids have to be dropped off literally in front of their homes.
Well, a number of us in this room worked very hard in 2021 to get the bond referendum approved by the county, and one of the understanding was some of that money was going to be used to build an East End fire rescue station, and now you're telling us the East End station is being put on hold so you can build a Station 8, which is needed, and I have no problem with that. Where is the money for Station 8 going to come from? And can you legally use the money from the bond issue to build anything other than the station in East End County?
And the answer is yes. The way the bond was written, it was for public safety.
So we were able to use that money. It was deliberately written so that if future boards felt there was a different need that still met the category of public safety. So building Station 8 is absolutely within the context of that bond issue. Now, Station 7 was the original focus, but as things happened, Station 7, we determined that we probably needed to look for it, see if there were better locations. So we started with Station 8 because we were losing that money every day. It sat in the bank. We weren't getting the benefit of it. To build Station 7, then the board will be in our CIP, and we'll fund it as we would normally fund a station like that. So we'll be able to do that. We're already working on the mechanism, but we would anticipate that Station 7 will be happening sooner than later as well. Right now, the board has made it very clear that Station 7 is not something that is forgotten. It's not ignored. It was paused. It was not stopped. It was not killed.
And another sore point, the East End Trail system, is that dead, alive, or still in the limbo?
Now, well, and again, it's very much alive. The board has also made that clear that the East End Trail was important to them as well as our citizens. The issue has been finding, first of all, finding a mechanism for it, and that originally we received a grant that had so many strings attached to the grant that it at some point became infeasible for us to use the grant to build the trail. Then also working with the property owners, that's the critical part, because the county doesn't own the land that it would have to go on. So working with the property owners, which we've had several meetings, and we believe, getting closer to having that route established so we can start building it. But again, the board has made it very clear that that is important and it will be done.
I would also stress, like so many projects, we don't want to get into a situation where we do a 20% of it and do not have the funds allocated and the plans made to complete the project. The same would be true for the Station 7. That was done with consultation from Chief Ferguson and making sure that we were not sacrificing services while we were making that shorter term shift to best use the resources that we had from the bond referendum, and still actively working on trying to find the best possible location. I feel very strongly about Station 7 because to start a $20 million plus project, because we are given a piece of land that might not be the best in a number of different ways, is not responsible, in my opinion. So I think really if we're going to undertake any project like that across the county, we need to be focused on the absolute best, not just in terms of quality, but location.
Well, guys, we'll still be around here to take your questions, but we always try to keep these within an hour. I know really the reason y'all came was not to hear us, but because of the cookies. And these cookies are made by our students at the high school, the culinary arts program. They're all homemade. I think they even turn to butter because we are rural. Have cookies as you go. They're amazing. And they give you just a testimony of the quality that's coming out of our school district. So thank you all very much for coming. And again, we'll still be around if you have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you all.